Hello and welcome to General Games Win a Moat. We are currently into the top 8 and we're watching the 4th v 5th place. We've got Adrian Kiddo on the right hand side of the screen playing Omni Show, and on the left hand side of the screen Tom Nurse playing Merfolk, or Meme Folk in this case. And I am Graham King. I'm joined by Andrew Stassi. How are you?
Hey, not too bad. How are you, Graham?
Yeah, pretty good, thank you. It's been a good day of Magic. We had 24 players here. Have you played anything of this match at all? Do you have any idea about who you feel would be ahead?
I think if Omni Show can just slam out the combo pretty quickly, they can just beat Merfolk before they establish a board.
Yeah,
But if it goes to mid game, I think Merfolk might be able to just get a bunch of lords and swing in.
yeah. So there's a few different things going on the most folk side of the board. I've played this matchup quite a bit myself, actually. Um, Obviously, you've got Island Walking Lords, and generally, just depending on whether you can get 2 or 3 of them down, you can generally beat past the Emrakul and Grizzlebrand that the Omni Show can get down before they can deal too much damage. Depending on the list, they'll also have a couple of phantasmal images floating around. Now, you can't actually put that in off show and tell, otherwise it will not be able to see the Emrakul just based on when it comes in, but you can vial it in. So that vial actually doesn't want to go up to 3 for the true names, it just wants to stay on 2 the whole entire time, so they can try and leverage the phantasmal image they might have.
Yeah, that seems pretty good.
So Adrian on his side of the board has an Ancient Tomb and a Show and Tell, and has elected not to play that. Obviously, they're the Curse Catcher on the other side of the board, so it's a little bit weak to that.
Yeah, definitely.
And Adrian just resolving a Ponder.
Draws another ponder off that.
Yeah, so the other thing you can see is he does have a Jason Myers Sculptor in hand. Do you think you would be trying to leverage that out before you went for the show and tell, or do you think just like the game plan A of Grizzlebrand and Emrakul would be better?
I think just Gristle and Emrakul would be better in this matchup. Jace is sort of grindy if he needs to go that way, but I don't think it does much other than just card advantage.
Yeah, sure. So Tom puts the Lord of Atlantis in off file, which I feel I don't think he has a Phantasmal Image in hand, but I feel like it would be better just to represent that you've got the threat rather than trying to play that way. But it does obviously get him 4 damage as well, and he plays a Jitte as well. So
Yeah, GT seems pretty good.
it's okay if you can get it equipped, but it's not something you really want to be doing in games 2 or 3 either.
Yeah, it's a little slow, but it can be good if Adrian just doesn't show and tell.
Sure. So he fetches an island. He's got lovely collection of beta islands there, and quite a few other fancy old cards. The FBB Volcanic Islands as well. And he's just digging through his combo pieces here as well. So we've got an after we can fire off a show and tell now, but it does mean that he's running it into the, and with the Lotus Petal, we can do it through the 2 Curse Catchers on board. Takes 2 damage, and he's just making a decision on whether he's going to go ahead with that. He does have a Daze on the other side of the field, though, so not necessarily going to resolve.
So just choose to play Jace instead.
Yeah, so, and once again, I'm just going to brainstorm and see if we can see how many cards we can look at to try and get this ahead.
Yep.
And there he forces back, so force on both sides, and Tom's left with no cards in hand now, so that puts him quite a bit behind, and he's just relying on hopefully being able to present lethal within the next 2 turns. He does have 9 damage on the board, so it is quite close to that, and that means that unless Adrian can actually get the sneak attack in play rather than the show and tell, he may be dead in 2 turns. So just once again digging, and
Adrian
finally
does see a Grizzlebrand off that ponder.
Yeah, so he's probably going to keep that and just see what we can do. Grizzlebrand is once again going to be interesting because even if he gets it down on board, he's still got the island walk.
Yeah, that's true.
But he does draw that. He also will probably not be able to draw 7 cards off it.
Yeah.
And the island walk means that he can't gain life on the swing back either. So just depends on exactly what happens. Tom decides to just keep the vial on 2, as I mentioned earlier, just trying to leverage a Phantasmal Image if he can get it.
Yep. Adrian does have a Force of Will on top as well, so he has counter magic if Tom does draw into some interaction.
Yep. Just see exactly how it gets played. So equips the Jitte to a Curse Catcher and swings in for 6. So we put Adrian down to 6, presenting lethal next turn, and this also means that the Grizzlebrand can't be activated if it does come into play. So just playing a very old school tempo game whereby we're trying to leverage the curse catchers and any of the soft counter magic to try and keep the sneak and show player back in the early game.
Yep, so we'll see what Adrian does.
I would not be surprised if he's trying to force through the sneak and show, but we can see that it's not quite powerful enough to do exactly what we want. And there's no sneak and show off that, so puts 2 back, and I would not be surprised if we see the fetch land here. Yeah, we've got a City of Traders, so we can City of Traders and finally the Show and Tell.
Show and Tell in Grizzlebrand.
So since this is Omni Show, he's got a win, which is Omniscience and Emrakul. Take an extra turn, but he doesn't have that in hand at the moment, so he's really just wanting to see if he can get Tom to sacrifice those 2 curse catchers, but unfortunately, because he's played the City of Traders, it actually means that he won't want to do that. So it may have actually been wrong to play the City and just deliberately play Sneak, Show and Tell with only 1 mana for the 2 curse catchers to try and play around that. He's not even bothering to turn the card face down as he resolves that because Tom has no cards in hand. And then as he does that, he scoops it up as well. So we've got the deck list here, so we'll just have a quick look at exactly what each of them has in their sideboard. Do you want to run through Tom Nurse's list first?
Yep, so looking at Merfolk, in the sideboard we have 2 Grafdigger's Cage, 2 Relic of Progenitus, 2 Ceremonious Rejection, and 1 of Flusterstorm, Pithing Needle, another copy of Jitte, Echoing Truth, Vendilion Click, 2 Back to Basics, a Mindbreak Trap, and a Submerge.
Sure, and what do you think you'd be looking at bringing in here?
Just a lot of the interaction. Flusterstorm seems good. Maybe a Mindbreak Trap as well, just trying to get through if Adrian goes for an early combo.
Yeah, so we can do the Flusterstorm and the Mindbreak Trap. There's also a Vendilion Click just to try and take any of the key pieces out of his hand. Yep. And finally, the Pithing Needle for Sneak Attack is good as well. On Adrian's side of the board, we've also got a Vendilion Click for himself. We've got a Through the Breach if the other options get cut off, a Sulfur Elemental, a Red Elemental Blast, 2 Pyroclasms, 2 Grafdigger's Cage, 2 Defense Grid, 2 Blood Moon, 2 Abrade, and 1 Flusterstorm. So I would think we'd be looking at just the removal coming in. So the 2 Abrades and the 2 Pyroclasms are quite good here. Yep. And obviously Red Elemental Blast hits almost all of the cards in the Merfolk's deck. So in terms of what's coming out, Adrian's deck for the most part seems like it's set up quite well for Merfolk in the first game. It might be worth cutting a little bit of the interaction and just trying to see if you can force your pieces through rather than trying to get in the kind of war with Merfolk. With the soul lands, it means you can force them through.
Yep.
Merfolk is interesting because go ahead.
So Tom Nurse is actually playing 2 copies of Standstill in his main deck.
So that's a little bit of a callback to the old Merfolk list from about 5 or 6 years ago.
Yeah, Seems pretty decent.
Yep, she's got 3 Phantasmal images. Really, you just want to trim the True Name Nemesis because they just don't do
Yeah.
enough against the Emrakul or the Grizzlebrand. And otherwise, maybe he's also got some Merovia Jays, who they're 3-cost lords.
Yep.
So Tom Nurse looks like he's taking out the Jitte, the Dismember, and another card, and
Seems pretty good. And brings in the Fluster, yeah, as we said.
yeah.
I didn't see what else he brought in.
And on Jitte's side, just finalizing it and puts it back. So we're just going to shuffle up and go to the second game. Now, just based on what you saw there and the sideboards, what they're bringing in, who do you think is going to be ahead in this particular matchup?
I think the extra interaction that Tom gets is definitely going to help him. If he can slam an early Pithing Needle and have some of that interaction, I reckon he has a really good chance.
Sure, so we're just trying to see if we can play the tempo game once again
Yeah,
and
exactly.
see if we can get a head on board before the Omni Show deck can do its thing properly. So, once again, today we are playing for a Moat. It's an Italian one in this case. So for Sato, that's for first prize, and then we've got some store credit around second, third, and fourth place. There's no prizes for the top 8 today. So in this case, this is playing for the big prizes in this match. So both players are going to have a quick look at their opening hand.
See, Kiddo's got a sneak attack, 2 sneak attacks, a Grizzlebrand, and a Show and Tell.
Yeah, so we've got a couple of different ways to force it through. Its main problem is it's a little bit mana light, so it's going to spend the first couple of turns digging for that. Tom has an Aether Vial, a Merovia, a Force, a Lord of the Atlantis, True Name Nemesis, Flusterstorm, and Cavern of Souls. So he's going to be leaning very heavily on the Aether Vial if he does choose to keep that, which it looks like he has. And really, since the Flusterstorm needs an island to go off.
Kiddo probably going to shuffle that since he needs to get more mana.
Yep,
The
right.
Ponder is okay, but he really needs to find more lands if he wants to cast any of his spells.
Yeah, he does choose to keep that. Takes the Spell Pierce, and then we'll be seeing a Ponder next turn most likely.
I think Tom will just draws a second Aether Vial, which will be interesting.
Yeah, so we've got Coming of Swords, most likely blaming Merfolk, and we've got an Aether Vial, so that's going to be the next couple of turns, and both players have kept a 1-land hand, so we're going to see the difference between how the different decks both deal with the situation. Adrian just trying to filter through to the appropriate options, whereas Tom is relying on the Aether Vial to sneak through the fact that he doesn't necessarily have the land available to him.
Yep. So Kiddo finding a fetch land and deploys that Lotus Petal.
Yeah, so I think there's another mana source on top of his library, so we're going to see one of the Show and Tell or the Sneak Attack next turn, and Tom doesn't have a way to deal with that, so this could be over very quickly.
Yeah, if Kiddo left the Lotus Petal on top, which I think he did, he can just slam out that Show and Tell with Grizzlebrand.
Yep, and we see the second Aether Vial, and Tom manages to rip the island off the top of the deck, so we've now got a live Flusterstorm. So we've got the second Lotus Petal, and it's interesting because if Kiddo decides to play the Sneak Attack first, the Flusterstorm doesn't deal with it, but if he goes for the Show and Tell, then that's not going to resolve. So just a question of exactly how he decides to play this turn out and what he thinks is the better threat against the Merfolk deck.
He does have Spell Pierce, so if he chooses to wait, he can hold that up.
Yep, so we go for the Show and Tell, and this is going to be met
Flusterstormed
by the Flusterstorm, which Kiddo can't pay for at the moment. And just considering the option of playing the Force of Will as well. Floats, Blue, and Forces. That's an interesting line of play.
Yep. Ooh.
So show and tell with blue floating.
So Spell Pierce on the Force of Will, and I think we'll see the Fluster off that floating blue mana.
Yep.
Fluster 4 copies.
Yeah. So Lotus Petal, Spell Pierce, show and tell, Fluster Storm. And the Force of Will. So 5 copies actually.
So I think we see Tom tick up to 1 and 2 on those Aether Vials.
Yep. And depending on exactly what happens, we may just see the him play out his entire hand. It depends on whether he wants to try and represent whether he has something more against the Omni Show. He decides not to, so we've got True Name Nemesis, and we're going to name that on Adrian.
And Adrian drawing another Gristlebrand, so he really just needs more mana sources in order to play those sneak attacks down.
Yep. End of turn, we're going to put in a
Lord of Atlantis.
Lord of Atlantis, and this is a 5-turn clock from Tom's side of the board now. Goes up to 2 and 3 respectively. And did not see what that card was.
Standstill?
And we've got a standstill. That's
seems pretty
quite
good.
the draw engine.
Also having that second Aether Vial on board lets him tick that first one up to 3 while also representing that Phantasmal Image.
Yeah, so he's got no cards left in hand, so not quite at the moment, but we've got a pretty much anything in his hand and his deck other than Curse Catcher can be cast now.
Yep.
So it's not looking good for the Omni Show player. Plays
It
out
does draw a Soul Land, which is good.
for the show land, and
So
I think we're going to go straight into the sneak attack.
Yep.
See what we can represent next turn. On Tom's side of the board, he does have more than 6 permanents, so the True Name might stay around even if something. Oh, pardon me.
Is that a Phantasmal Image?
That is a Phantasmal Image, an island, and a Mishra's Factory. So, if we put it down as a Lord of Atlantis, it represents 11 damage next turn. Otherwise, the other option is to, as I said, just play it as essentially what would be a Grizzleband or Emrakul after a Show and Tell resolves. Looks like he's going for the Factory over the Coven of Souls that he's just drawn, so quite land heavy on Tom's side of the board, but he does have that ace card in the hole of the Phantasmal Image as well. And not 100% certain what Adrian's got that is going to get him out of this position. Probably 2 red sources, a Grizzleband and an Emrakul, but the Grizzleband can't obviously be activated once again.
Let's see what the draw is for Adrian.
So we've got a Flutter's Strand and we've got 2 Grizzlebands in hand. So I would expect us to see Grizzleband and attack this turn. And see what happens from there. Is just having a quick read of the card, making sure he knows what it does. For those listeners at home who don't, Sneak Attack is a 4-cost enchantment. It reads, pay red, put a creature from your hand into play. It gains haste. At end of turn, sacrifice that creature. So it's going to attack for 7, and Tom in response puts in his Phantasmal Image. Once again, it's going to be a Grizzleband. And we'll just see whether he activates the Grizzleband going down to 13 or not. Adrian obviously can't because he's on 7 life and that kills him. No, chooses just to win with what's on board. The damage between the 2 creatures and the Mishra's Factory is going to be lethal on the next turn.
I think paying the 7 life could have been...
Sorry, yeah, the lifelink from Grizzleband means that it doesn't.
Let's see what Tom draws. Tom draws another island. Very land heavy, but that Mishra's Factory does swing in.
Yep. Well, what do you think of Tom's choice of islands in this particular choice? I've got 3 different lands that I can see so far.
Yep, and one of them isn't even full art. I think if you have to go, even if they're mismatched, all full art or all half art, you can't mix half and full.
I think if you're going half arts, they do all need to be the same art. I do actually like that 8th edition art, but I don't really like the fact that it's whiteboarded.
Yeah.
On the other side of the board, we've got Arabian Nights Mountains. So obviously those were the ones which were misprinted by accident. So they are quite rare. And I believe a favorite of
Adrian Sullivan or
Adrian Sullivan, that's the one, the Burn Effects Giannato. So Adrian goes for the block with Grizzlebrand off Sneak Attack, and end of turn he's going to be gaining an extra 7 life. So
chooses to draw 7.
So I find it interesting that Tom chose not to activate the Grizzlebrand before he blocked on his side of the board, just because it would give him so many cards. Like an extra 2 Lords could have possibly just put the game away on this turn, and instead Adrian is slowly making his way back into the game with just the end of turn Grizzlebrand. He doesn't see a creature in those 7 cards though.
No, he sees a couple of show and tells and a couple of sneak attacks, but no creatures to put in play, which is unfortunate.
And that was an Emrakul off the top, so that's quite nice for him. Activates the Grizzlebrand, the sneak attack, I should say.
Doesn't get the extra turn because that's a cast trigger, but a 15/15 Annihilator 6 is pretty good.
So puts Tom down to 12. If he chooses to sacrifice everything except the creatures, he can still put Adrian to 1 on next turn. So just depends on exactly what he wants to do. The other option is to try and just represent a couple of more threats. But Adrian digging to see if he can find a Grizzlebrand to go with it. And we've got 2 Red Blasts instead. So that's going to target the Lord most likely. And gets another one next turn just in case.
Yeah.
So just confirms he does keep the Red Blast. I'm not sure if Tom has any creatures in hand he can vial in to help here.
So I think Tom should sacrifice all his lands and the Aether Vials. Definitely.
So you just think, hope that Adrian doesn't have anything and put him to 1 next turn?
Yep, seems pretty good.
Just looking quickly. So it doesn't look like he does. Tom from the table has said that 6 is a lot of permanents, just counting out and considering exactly what his options are here.
6 is
gets rid of the 4 lands and gets rid of the 2 vials. So 6 is the big number that he's going to be swinging back with, except that Adrian has the Red Blast for Lord of Atlantis. So it's a 3-turn clock for Tom, where Adrian is just going to be dealing with the cards in hand every turn as well. So he's got Brainstorm, Spell Pierce, and Brainstorm again from his side of the table.
And he does get a shuffle with the Emrakul Sacrifice trigger as well. So he gets back all his cantrips and gets to potentially get more Grizzlebrands back on top.
That's true. And there is Red Blast. So we're nearing the end with this match because either way it's just going to be Adrian getting another creature or Tom finding Tom beating him for lethal, but it's not quite the race that you're necessarily going to be expecting as the Omnishow or the Merfolk player, I don't believe. But True Name Nemesis is definitely going to be scared if there's another Emrakul scene. So Adrian plays a Scalding Tarn, sacrificing the City of Traders, and then shuffles everything up, and we go to the next turn.
So let's see what Tom draws here.
So he's got a Mutavault, and he's also got a Cavern of Souls in hand. So once again, that puts it down to a 1-turn clock, which Adrian isn't necessarily going to know, but we swing in for 3, and just 1 turn of digging before the end of this.
So Adrian really needs to find a big threat to play off that sneak attack, otherwise he's lost this game.
Yeah, so we've got
does have a
3 blue land at the moment. Start on the Ponder. No, we start on the Brainstorm, fetch, and then Ponder second, just trying to maximize the the number of cards you can see.
Does
And
find a
he
Grizzlebrand.
finds a Grizzlebrand. Puts that into play immediately. Not yet deciding to... Yeah, swings in for 7.
That puts Adrian back up to 11, which seems quite
Now,
out of range with no permanents on Tom's side.
sure. Now, if you were in Adrian's position at the moment, would you activate the Grizzlebrand?
I don't think so, because activating brings him down to 4, which is lethal on board if Tom can find another land. So I think it's just a little bit too risky.
So just putting as much of a buffer between what he's currently on.
Yeah,
And
I think Adrian's draws are definitely better than Tom's draws.
yeah, when he's just got a lot with the Ponder and the Brainstorm, he's just
Yeah.
got so many extra cards that he can look at. Brainstorm's in response, seeing if we can find anything.
Finds
Grizzlebrand
land,
are similarly
goes
to block with. Can probably get rid of the sneaker.
Adrian forgetting to shuffle there with his fetch land
Oh, no.
because he knew.
No, I think he meant off the Grizzlebrand. Off the Emrakul, he drew the same cards again, but I'm not sure.
No, I saw him shuffle. He brainstormed and put bad cards back, and forgot to shuffle with his Scalding Tarn to see a fresh 3.
Right. Just a lovely collection of lands on Adrian's side of the board, but he's getting quite desperate at the moment as well. Our producer saying that the not having Arabian Nights mountain islands is not quite up to scratch, and that's an Emrakul, and that will be game. He just not getting back in here, and we're going to game 3.
Do we see any different sideboarding, or just run it back?
I think you run it back. There's obviously the options in some of the more tempo-based games with Merfolk of taking out the Daisies and bringing in Forces, but you just want all 8 of the counter spells in this particular matchup, or it's only 2 days in this particular case. Much the same on the Omni Show side of the board as well. They're just going to be running it back. So once again, it's going to be a similar matchup of just Merfolk trying to maintain a tempo game state and keeping Omni Show from trying to get its combo off early.
Yeah, definitely. So while players are shuffling up, Graham, what did you play today?
I came in mainly for commentary, but I did play a couple of rounds with Grixis Delver.
How'd you go?
I won the first match in a not quite mirror match. I was playing against Delver. Just managed to play the tempo game right. I lost against Death and Taxes from In the Hands of Jack Jiggins, who,
Of course.
Game 1 was very close. I possibly missed some combat maths, and then played against Adrian here in the 3rd round and mulled to 4.
Ouch, that's rough.
Which is not the best thing to do against him. And what were you playing yourself?
I decided to run Food Chain. So
Sure.
I've been playing Allurin for about a year and just decided to switch it up, play Food Chain today.
Yeah, sure. So that's a little bit of an offbeat deck. How did you find it?
I think it's a lot grindier than Allurin is. You can disguise yourself as bug whatever you want for ages. It did okay. I finished 3-2, which is not bad.
So I think Tom's a little bit land light. We can see Pyroclasm in Adrian's hand, which is going to do a little bit of work just depending on if he can get it off early enough.
And Adrian does have a Sneak Attack and Gristlebrand in hand.
Yeah, so once again, representing just one of those hands that could be over very quickly. Managed to draw an island off the top, and we're going to see a lot of it. No, we're going to see a Silvergill Adept revealing Lord of Atlantis. So Silvergill Adept is a 2-cost Merfolk. It comes into play and draws a card, and at an additional cost, you can either pay 3 or reveal a Merfolk from your hand. I think it's secretly one of the best cards in the deck, just because it's one of the few cards that offer you some proper card advantage in the Merfolk deck.
Yeah, definitely. And coming up for the Rivals Vixline Open House, you can get a full art Silvergill Adept, which looks really beautiful.
That's they're reprinting it in the new set, aren't they?
Yeah. Merfolk in Standard might actually be viable.
Sure. So Adrian's played a Ponder, which has been dazed in response, which is it's very
interesting.
aggressive,
Yeah.
choosing to go after the cantrips. It kind of is okay if you don't think they have the combo in hand, but it also means that when they're trying to play the business spells, they're going to be behind. I think it kind of represents to some extent that you've got a counterspell heavy hand. In response to that, Adrian brainstorms, so letting the Ponder get countered most likely and following it up with a different cantrip instead. Doesn't have the shuffle effect here, so I think we're going to see. We can't play. We've got a Lotus Petal that we can use to play the red spells, and he has Emrakul Grizzlebrand, so this might just be a.
There is a City of Traders and a Lotus Petal, so
Yeah, so he can play Sneak Attack and not activate it, or he can play a Pyroclasm next turn, which is.
He does have a Show and Tell in hand, right?
Has a Show and Tell in hand as well.
So he could play the City of Traders and play Show and Tell.
Sure, does he have counter magic backup? He does have a Force of Will.
But no blue card.
No blue card except for the Show and Tell. It's an interesting collection of card bodies got there. Tom plays Phantasmal Image, copies Silvergill Adept, and tries to draw a card. And Adrian's just thinking on whether he's going to allow that.
Yep,
and grabs a Daze. So we're going to see a counter war coming fairly soon.
Yep. So I'm not sure if Adrian left a blue card on top with the Brainstorm.
See exactly what it is. Might even be worth just cracking the Lotus Petal for the Pyroclasm right here. But we'll see what he decides to do.
Yeah, so that's 4 damage on board.
Yeah, so he picks up the Grizzlebrand again out of his hand.
I think potentially it might be better to just wait a turn on the Pyroclasm. Might be able to catch a Lord, but that also might be a bit risky, taking 9 or 6 damage.
Yeah, so chooses to go the Show and Tell, the Sneak Attack route. The other option he had was to Show and Tell and Sneak Attack and then use the Lotus Petal to sneak in the Emrakul, which would put Tom far too far behind to be able to get back into the game. Chooses instead to force back.
Yep. So now I think we just need to wait to find a red source on Adrian's side.
Yeah, so we've got a dead card next, and then he's just looking at the various different red lands that he's got in his deck. He's got 4 Lotus Petals,
So
7 Fetches, and 3 Volcanic Islands, and a.
We see a Flusterstorm on that Force of Will.
So there's a couple of.
Adrian can't pay for that Flusterstorm, so he loses his Sneak Attack and his Show and Tell in that exchange.
Yeah, so puts himself a little bit behind there, but once again, he's got a lot of cantrips that he can use just to be able to dig for the pieces he needs once again, and it's not a deck that you ever really want to be discounting.
Yeah, I think burning the Lotus Petal to cast a Sneak Attack was a little bit greedy. As you said, Show and Telling it in and then using it to activate would be potentially a little bit better.
Yeah, so that's with 2 Lords, we've got 3 damage from each of the Lords and 4 from each of the Merfolk, so that's 11 damage coming at Kiddo, and he holds out the hand, so that is 2 games won to Tom Nurse in the quarterfinals. We'll see what's happening with the other matches. Otherwise, yep. So welcome back to the booth. That was Adrian Kiddo versus Tom Nurse. We're going to see you back here soon at General Games Winner Moat for some semi-finals actions. Hope to see you there.